Hi, welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm still your host, David Krayden. Nice to be back after a few days. And I've got something I want to share with you this morning that I think you really need to know about. Let's just watch this.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, as Sash the Cat always said, please ring that bell, subscribe to the station, become a member, support us if you can. It's really appreciated. But like us right now, because it's important we beat Trudeau censorship. It's never been more important. You know, I was talking about it for a year at least, talking about the Online Safety Act. I thought it was going to be called that. It's the Online Harms Act. This bill is diabolical. It is so evil. And I talked about that the other day. I'm going to keep talking about it every time I'm in front of this camera, because this bill will mean the end of free speech in Canada. I'm not making that up. I'm not exaggerating. That's what this bill is all about. It's not designed to protect children from exploitation and pornography. That's the veneer. That's what the Liberals want to talk about. They don't want to talk about what this bill is really about, and that is silencing opponents of the Liberal regime, of this Liberal Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. That's what this bill is all about. It's clear. If you read it, it's in plain view. A lifetime in prison for so-called hate speech, $70,000 fine from a human rights tribunal back on the prowl. Or how about being arrested for thought crime because somebody thinks you might say something hateful? It's outrageous. But I want to focus on something else today. I'm going to be talking about this issue, the Online Harms Act, on Neil Oliver's show in about an hour from now. So I encourage you to watch that on Great Britain News, and it will be broadcast on on YouTube afterwards. I encourage you to watch that, and I want to look at this latest scandal coming from the Trudeau government. And I'm not seeing a whole bunch of coverage on this in the mainstream media. But just listen to Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre try to explain this whole thing. And it's about a 3-minute clip. I apologize for the length, but it's extremely important that he gets all of the information out there. And this is not an easy story to digest, but it's an incredible violation of security at the lab in Winnipeg where Canada is conducting biochemical research. And let's listen to Poilievre explain this.
We already knew that Justin Trudeau was not worth the cost, the crime, the corruption, and the cover-up. But now we know that he cannot protect our people or our country. We've just received these documents that Trudeau has been covering up for years. Documents related to a massive security breach at the Trudeau government's most sensitive laboratory, where the most dangerous viruses and pathogens are studied and handled. We have learned that the Trudeau government's head of pathogens was collaborating with members of Beijing's People's Liberation Army who are responsible for bioweapons and bioterrorism. We know now that a People's Liberation Army official was able to gain personal access, walk in the door, look at computers, and have access to all of our most important virological secrets. If you think any of this is hyperbole, read the report yourself. This is from government documents, the Trudeau government's own documents. It says here on page 142, Winnipeg lab scientist Dr. Chu is head of the Special Pathogens Unit, the top person in that job. According to documents on page 242, quote, represents a serious and credible danger to the Government of Canada as a whole, and in particular at facilities considered high security due to the potential for theft of dangerous materials attractive to terrorists and foreign entities that conduct espionage to infiltrate and damage the economic security of Canada, end quote. It states further on page 239, investigators assess that Dr. Chu communicated with foreign entities during her trips to China. The evidence obtained from interviews and from information collected from the electronic content of her devices reveal that this is indeed the case. As a subject matter expert with access to sensitive information and dangerous materials, Dr. Chu presents a realistic and credible threat to Canada's economic security when conducting repeated and clandestine meetings with foreign entities, end quote. Then it says Dr. Chu conducted joint research with the Major General Chen Wei of the People's Liberation Army, who, according to page 236, is a noted top virologist at the Academy of Military Medical Sciences and is China's chief biological defense expert engaged in research related to biosafety, biodefense, and bioterrorism.
All right. Polyev goes on in a news conference to explain that this report was buried by Justin Trudeau, that the Speaker of the House, the very well-remembered Anthony Rota, who resigned over the Nazi in the Parliamentary Gallery episode, that Rota actually wanted to make this report public and to have it known this individual had been working at the lab and was sharing secrets. Trudeau overruled the Speaker and threatened to sue him. Now, this all happened before the last election, which is over 3 years ago. And apparently, Trudeau called a snap election just in case. And what happened in that last election? We know that China interfered in that election to help elect Liberals, to get a Liberal minority government elected. So this is seething with corruption, seething with absolute ineptitude, but banality and evil at the same time. Here we have a prime minister who once again sidesteps his responsibilities and insists, hey, don't ask me. I'm just the prime minister. I'm not responsible for any of this. We're going to watch in a minute how Trudeau has responded to this. And like, oh, we took action. Yeah, right. You took no action. You didn't want this to be known publicly. You pretended it was a national security issue when all it was a public embarrassment for you and your Liberal Party. You threatened to sue a speaker. You got help from China to win the last election. And you have sat on this report for over 3 years. Yeah. And listen to where Trudeau puts the blame. This guy is such a turd.
How is a scientist working on high-security viruses at the National Microbiology Lab allowed to collaborate with Chinese government agencies considered a threat to Canada?
A number of years ago, our security systems, our intelligence and security agencies flagged problems at the Winnipeg labs that were followed up on. We know as a country that increasingly countries like China and others are trying to either influence or get secrets out of our country. And that's why we have to continue to be extraordinarily vigilant about how we're making sure we're doing everything necessary to keep people safe, to keep our research institutions safe. As a government, we've taken many, many initiatives, and I've tasked our National Security and Intelligence Advisor to look even deeper at this Winnipeg's lab situation and make recommendations on how we can move forward appropriately. This is something that people would expect governments to take seriously and expect all parliamentarians to take seriously.
Okay, I'm just about to puke because this guy's making me sick to my stomach just listening to this idiot who just can't even make sense of anything. He can't even admit that this is a little bit of a disaster that he's responsible for. No apologies. Just I did the right thing all along. And we took action immediately. And it's bullshit. He took no action at all. He did nothing to counter this. And he's only talking about it now because he's been caught in a lie. And he's lying to your face right here. But it gets worse, because guess who's to blame for all of this? You know what's coming.
Unfortunately, throughout this process, we have seen the Conservative Party, specifically Pierre Poilievre, choosing to spew conspiracy theories and drum up political attacks, partisan attacks, on an issue that, quite frankly, should be bringing Canadians and parliamentarians together to try and solve this. The quickness with which they're looking for partisan advantage is not just undermining Canadians' trust in the system, but interfering with the ability of Parliament to deal with this. One of the reasons it has taken so long to get this report into Parliament is because of the choice that Conservatives made to try and extract any amount of political advantage by drumming up a level of partisanship and toxicity that is not serving Canadians. There's lots of opportunity to have responsible political debates about how we're moving forward as a country and what needs to be fixed, what's being done well, what needs to be done better. Absolutely. That's part of the give and take in our democracy. But the choice to weaponize national security in a way that is rife with conspiracy theories and partisan attacks.
Okay, I'm feeling sicker, but I gotta interject here to say, what conspiracy theories? He's reading from your own government documents, you half-wit. What are you talking about? And the Conservatives to blame for the security infraction that occurred on your watch? I'm sorry? Can you make some sense? Are you capable? Are you capable of constructing a coherent argument? Are you capable of actually responding in an honest manner? I don't think you are. I think you've completely lost your ability to communicate. Not just effectively, but at all. Yes, and there's more at the end. I can only stand so much of this man, though.
Is a choice that I don't think is worthy of the kind of responsible leadership that Canadians deserve. I will also add that hearing two particular Conservative members, Michael Chong and James Bazan, suddenly being front and center on issues of security and international impact after having been complete ghosts over the past number of months on anything to do with standing up for Ukraine, for example, or even on the matter of their colleague Leslyn Lewis calling for a withdrawal from the United Nations of Canada, they won't say a thing.
Okay, I think the reason Michael Chong is there is he's the foreign affairs critic. And yes, James Bazan is the defense critic. And I've known James for years. And he's been working in the National Defense File for a long time. So I think that's why they're there, Trudeau. Yeah. And Michael Chong, of course, was also targeted by the Chinese government. And his family was targeted by the Chinese government. Trudeau knew about that, but didn't tell him. We found out about that last summer. So this is what is going on here. Yeah, they had a perfect right, and they were there because that's what their portfolios are all about. But Justin Trudeau, once again, he's the brazen hypocrite. He is the ultimate fool who just can't see that he's the one who's authoritarian. He's the one that's the coward. He's the one that is toxic and overly partisan. Justin Trudeau's the guy. But he can never seem to acknowledge that, can he? Anyway, this is not the end. It's the beginning of another scandal that is going to I hope, affect the fall of this corrupt government, I urge anybody with an NDP member of parliament, tell that member that he or she is not going to win re-election if he or she continues to prop up this corrupt Trudeau government that is so laden, so overborne with scandal that it stinks. This is possibly the worst prime minister we have ever had to endure in Canada. And it really is time for him to go. February 29th, this week, marked the 40th anniversary of Pierre Trudeau's resignation, his decision to resign in 1984. My God, it is time for Justin Trudeau to experience that same moment of realization for the good of Canada. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a minute to enjoy this extra. And I'll be back again tomorrow with more information. And please try to catch me on Neil Oliver's show on GBN. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the Krayden'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the Krayden resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the Krayden'S Right resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
I did not call people who were unvaccinated names.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
For everything you did, thank you to put your life on the line for us. You're one of the greatest women I ever met in my life.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who. But
We feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers.
Oh, no, Mr. Bond. I expect you to be chipped.
I'm a liberal and a proud socialist, Mr. Speaker.
This is a Manchurian candidate. For people who don't understand the expression, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm referring to somebody who can be used as a useful idiot by another country to come out and spout these things off. He is a Marxist.
End your silence. Speak up. For God's sake, stop complying. Start rebelling. They're out to get you if you do not resist.
Good buddy, mercy sakes alive. Looks like we got us a convoy.
Canadian country singer Paul Brandt here. I've been listening with my wife and 2 kids, and we want to say thank you for all you're doing in defense of civil liberties and freedom.
I'll ask the question I posed to you at the start of my round. Will you apologize on behalf of the government for this outrageous invite?
And
stand by the invitation.
Of course, what I said in my initial.
You have no shame.
What? Oh my heavens!
There is nothing they fear like the crystal clear sound of someone somewhere telling the truth.
So it will be a world integrating the physical, biological, and see digital dimensions. So it will be a new world.
Stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Because I can tell you, you cannot comply your way out of a tyranny.
When did you and your government start to become so afraid of your own citizens?
And now he's calling them domestic terrorists and wants to freeze their bank accounts. This has been absolutely outrageous. And everybody now is starting to agree that Justin Trudeau has lost this fight.
Press, baby. The press. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing.